Hi, I'm Dr. Laura Brown. I'm a psychologist from Seattle, Washington. On March 3rd and 4th, I'll have the pleasure of presenting a workshop on the topic of advanced cultural competence in the treatment of trauma. This workshop, which is being sponsored by STARTS, the New South Wales Service for the Treatment and Rehabilitation of Survivors of Torture and Trauma, will cover a range of different topics, helping therapists and other people who work with trauma survivors integrate cultural competence into their work with the trauma survivor. Let me give you a brief overview of what I'll be talking about those 2 days. The first day is going to be dedicated entirely to the topic of developing cultural competence. What do I mean by that? Well, cultural competence is not about memorizing a list of characteristics about a particular group of people or a list of rules about how you're supposed to behave. Instead, it's a way of thinking and being aware, thinking about who you are in the world, being aware of your own biases, your own privilege, your own experiences of oppression, and understanding how those affect the way you are in your interactions with other people. So we'll be looking at a broad range of topics related to that construction of cultural competence on that day, and particularly trying to understand how we can mindfully and compassionately observe our struggles, our failures, as well as our successes in moving toward being more culturally competent in our work. The second day, we'll look at how do we integrate those awarenesses into our work with trauma survivors. Because trauma doesn't happen to a generic human being. Trauma happens to people who have an ethnicity, a gender, a sexuality, a social class, a national origin, and experiences that inform who they are and what the trauma means to them. And so we'll be looking at understanding trauma beyond the formal diagnostic labels, particularly looking at how experiences of betrayal and repeated exposures to trauma in the form of microaggression can complicate intervening with and supporting people who've experienced big T traumas. We'll then look at how do you take our understanding of cultural competence into changing and customizing the work that we do with people so that we meet them where they are. Finally, we'll take a look at the issue of caring for ourselves as trauma therapists and trauma workers so that we are able to persist in this work. I look very much forward to meeting with many of you and to teaching this workshop in March.